Okay, so this is our video on 5.4 where you're going to really be creating your own Scratch project, and you're going to be able to really have the freedom to go in any direction that you want to. So this is our chance to get really creative with Scratch, and I've given you some ideas here, but the ideas that are here don't necessarily have to be what you end up doing. So a couple of ideas. One, a new video game. There's actually a really cool site, inventwithscratch.com. And this person, I believe his name is Al Swigert, has actually programmed a bunch of different games. And these games range from easy to program to hard to program. And he actually goes through and gives you a video, a tutorial on how to program each game. So this may be something that you do. If you choose this option, you have to modify the game somehow. You can't just kind of plagiarize and go with this game as is. You'd have to sort of take a look yourself and try to come up with some ideas to modify the game. Other ideas, you can create a learning game. So, for example, you can create a game that might help you study for one of your courses or help a younger sibling or friend learn a concept. On this website, there are some ideas for how you can do that, and you can go through and you can read about different ways to actually create an educational game. And again, you can come up with your own ideas. Option 3 is to continue to expand your ping pong game. I gave you some options of ideas, and you can even get some ideas from inventwithscratch.com from other games. You can create your own musical instrument. You can check out some of these projects that are on this website. You can create an advertisement for a product, idea, political candidate, good cause, etc. You can create a project that would help another person design something. Here's a studio of projects that will show you different sorts of designs that people can come up with. For example, here's one where you can actually dress up a cat, and you can pick different costumes for the cat. There are all sorts of creative projects that you can do, and I've given you some of these ideas. You are not limited to these ideas. You could explore the Scratch website and look for ideas of others that will generate interest. You may work with one other person. If you choose to do this, you must work with someone who you have not worked with before on Scratch. Here are some more websites to research and come up with ideas. All right. Here is our rubric. This is a 70-point project. The first 20 points are you're submitting a plan for your project on a Google Doc to me. And I gave you a template, so if you click this template, okay, you can actually copy and paste this into a document. So I would copy and paste this into a document, and basically you have to tell me 4 things. A description of the project you'll be creating, including the objective. Highlight the objective of your project. So for example, an objective, for example, could be to create an interactive game to help students study for a quiz in Spanish 5. That could be an interactive game, and it has an objective. An objective could be to create levels in your ping pong game. An objective could be you're creating an asteroid game. Okay, an objective is something that you are setting out to achieve. Okay, so part B says explain why you are choosing to work on this project. In other words, what about this project made you, what about this idea made you kind of say, hey, I really want to do this? Because you ultimately want to pick something and choose something that you're going to want to put the energy into. Item 3, you will have to document the resources that you use to create this project. Okay, so these can include documents, other Scratch projects, and videos. You have to include any links. Okay, and when you create your Scratch project, you're going to have to credit any sources that you used in the notes and credits. And this is where we need to be very careful. Okay, failure to cite your sources appropriately is plagiarism and will be treated as such. So I'm actually going to put that up here as well. Okay, failure to cite your sources appropriately can lead to a charge of plagiarism. So please do not do that. And then part D says, how will you use and/or modify the resources to create your project? Okay? So talking about how you will use your resources to create and modify, you need to actually give specific information. So for example, if you're taking a project and you're going to remix it, you need to cite that in your project, because you can't just grab someone's project and present it as your own. That is plagiarism. All right, so you will have a plan. The plan needs to be approved before you start proceeding onto your project. I need to actually see that this plan has been formulated. So that's the first thing that you're working on. You're working on doing the research and coming up with a plan. Next up, does your project match your plan? So at the end, does your result project actually execute your plan? And if your project ended up deviating from the plan, that's okay, but you have to provide reasons why in your reflection. Okay? 20 points then, does your Scratch project function as intended? In other words, if I run your Scratch project, does it do what you said it was going to do? Either at the beginning of your plan or perhaps after you modified and saw that either you wanted to change your plan a bit or that your plan was going to be too difficult and you modified. That's okay, but does your Scratch project actually function? And then a 10-point reflection. So this is what's involved in our project. We'll be working on this over the next week or so. And again, you can partner up with one person. Just make sure it's not someone who you've not worked with on Scratch. Feel free to reach out to the more advanced Scratch programmers if you feel like your weakness isn't programming, but maybe you can bring some creative strength to the group. And also make sure that you are adhering to all the requirements. Okay, guys, thanks.